Hey everyone, it's Joe Glimes. Today I'm talking with joedf. You're out of Canada, right, Joe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And
Canada. Yeah, no.
it's interesting because actually, it didn't dawn on me till just now. But like, I detect no accent whatsoever. But are you? I thought you were more in the Canadian, I'm sorry, the French-speaking area. Is that not
Yeah,
true?
yeah. Je parle français, ouais. No, because my background is my dad's German, my mom's Chinese, so I grew up with Mandarin and German at home,
Wow.
and then I learned French because I went to French school here, and English I learned from TV, radio, and whatnot. So,
Damn,
yeah.
that's impressive. Yeah. Yeah, I can barely speak English, so that's what I do.
That's fine.
Why don't you give us a bit of a background on your education? Because you're still in school, right? Or college, or
Yeah, yeah. So I did my, you know, high school around here, not too far from where I live right now. And then now I did also CGIP in further Gatineau, which is like kind of a first year university and a little
oh,
bit into second year. And then you get transfer credits to whatever university you go to. And then so I'm doing geology at Carleton University. So now I'm in my fourth year. I'm about to start my thesis this year and graduate in 2019. Yeah.
cool. I don't know why I thought you were actually focused in like an IT or programming area.
Yeah.
Is that not?
Yeah, that's what most people would think too, and usually that's what I thought. Well, that's the thing, you don't really know.
Oh man,
I guess like a career is not really a
when
linear path.
I'm
But yeah,
50
so
and I'm still trying to decide what I want to do when I grow up. So yeah, I
yeah,
actually I just real quick.
oh,
I spent
yeah,
9 years at a junior college, like because I kept getting into something and loving it, and I'd get in something else and love it, and I mean it. I have 4 degrees just because I kept like I love to learn. But
hmm
anyway, it is yeah. Don't feel bad. I mean, people. No one knows. I mean, it's rare, very rare to say like this is what I want to do. Actually, the vast majority of my friends that went to my undergrad, they they got their degree and then none of them went into what they were studying.
yeah,
Actually,
okay,
they
yeah,
didn't like it. They didn't want to do it. I mean, anyway, so yeah.
yeah. No, well, for me, it's because like when I was much younger, I don't know, these Texas Instrument calculators. A friend
Sure.
showed me this, and he's like, "Oh, cool! I can show you how to make a little program." I'm like, "What?" And then showed me that, and then I started to learn how to do the TI basic, and then we got into using ASM on the calculator, making games and stuff like that, and then
Cool.
we kept talking about that, and I found a C book that was like for $2. Usually it's like $20, and I was like, oh, sure. So my first computer language is really C, and that's how I got into it and
Wow.
understanding more of the mechanics. And then as I grew up with that, I started using to do like little things to help me with work or homework and stuff like that. But now, eventually, I found AutoHotkey, and I thought, what was this? It's kind of weird, and I don't know. And then I was like, okay, so I pushed it aside for a while until maybe a couple of years later, I came back to it, and I was like, hey, this script is really useful. I wonder if I could do my own. And I started using it, and then I saw there was this community, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
and then I was a little bit quiet at some points, and then I got louder and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I guess with time it really evolved into something I think about almost every day, and
Yeah.
I use at work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so I don't know, like I'm more into geology now, but I use my computer skills to help me with school and work.
cool.
It's been really helpful. Yeah.
Awesome. Ballpark wise, so how long ago did you first discover AutoHotkey?
Oh, uh, uh, um, I think back here. Uh, I don't think I've been that long of a user, but I guess with time now it's been a while. So it's already 2018.
Yeah.
I'm guessing when I first really got into it, like really more and starting using it, would be 2012 or 2014.
Oh, was it
I'm
that
not
long ago?
sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I've used it before, but I wasn't active on the forums.
Sure. Okay.
So
Yeah.
if I wanted to put an average on really using it, maybe 13, if I want to put it there, or 2012, somewhere there. I'm
Yeah.
not really
All right.
sure, but it's been a while. Yeah.
And you mentioned a couple other programming languages and this that you did with it, but did you? Because at one point, I mean, and I've seen your stuff for years now, but I was going to say around 4 years ago was when I remembered you started like getting 3 to 4 years. You started really getting into the forum a lot and posting a
Yeah.
lot. But I thought at some
Yeah.
point you had mentioned, were you taking actual programming classes or no?
Oh, well, actually, I only had one programming class ever, and it was
Wow.
this at university like a year ago. It was an intro to comp sci, and we were learning Python. But by then,
Oh,
I already knew most of it. But it was still fun to see, some concepts, because when you learn on your own, you don't really get all the concepts, and then when
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
start to program, you learn things, experience, oh, that's easy and like that. But there, they teach it from zero, and it was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun, but
Yeah.
I've never had other courses really.
Okay. You're just so you know your connection's cutting out a little bit here and there, but
Okay, yeah, it's possible because I'm on wireless and we
yeah,
got like metal on the walls here,
nice.
but
Yeah, I actually because even I've been a nerd for quite a while, but at my undergrad, part of my graduation, I had to take this stupid like intro to computers course, and so I'm like,
okay,
I go to it, and I'm like, 90% of the stuff I knew, but there were little things where I'm like, oh, because I had just absorbed it. I'd never taken classes in it. I'm
yeah,
like, I didn't know that did that, right?
yeah,
Okay, yeah, it's not a
definitely.
total waste of time, but literally I was sitting next to people and in I look over and they're doing this, right? And I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, well, we had to go to this thing and then we got to enter it over here. And so they didn't know copy and paste even existed. So they were literally writing it down and they were gonna type it in the other thing. They didn't realize you could have more than one window open at a time. And I'm just like, oh my, yeah.
That's
Let
funny.
me
Yeah,
rock your world. Yeah.
yeah,
Which
no, yeah,
now
definitely.
I'm going to exaggerate, but like even in corporate America, I don't see people quite like that, but it's close. I mean, like often even like alt
Hmm.
tab, people just like you do what, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh my god, yeah. It's one of those things. Like, God help us. I mean, people you assume so much, right? And then you watch them work, and you're like, what are you doing? Yeah. Anyway. And then when I'm just curious, how long before you graduate?
so this is my last year, so I should graduate sometime next year,
Nice.
July, something like that.
And are you going to stay up in Canada or any plans?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking I'll maybe stay in Canada for a year or something, but probably going to travel quite a bit. And well, the whole idea why I'm in geology is that I love computers and all that, so I use that for analyzing data and whatnot. But the geology side is really to get out there. So right now I'm a programmer at a company called Physics, which is a high resolution imaging, and we are a partner with Zeiss. So I make software for SEM imaging, and we kind of create like a Google Maps type interface.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at a lot of stuff at the nanoscale, it's kind of annoying to always go back to this machine, and not everybody has this machine to always look at the data and the image. So the whole idea is to bring that 1 point whatever $1 million equipment experience to your phone, your computer. So it's a web-based application, and I've been adding a lot of features to that. So that's one side where I can use the computers to help me with science. But now is the whole geology side is really to help me get to that outside. I want to be outside. So
Yeah.
I want to do a bit of both, and that's the plan here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I'll probably stay a while in Canada, but I'll see where it brings me. Yeah.
Cool. Well, if you're ever in Dallas, drop by.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then I'm curious. So you mentioned at work and you're doing programming. Do you have colleagues, and do they at all look at like AutoHotkey? Have you tried to show them what you're doing? Do you?
Yeah, I've shown a couple, but I've been focusing more on just getting the forum more alive, because at one point I know the forum was very lively and then it went down a little bit. So my goal was to really bring that back. And now I see the users are more active and all that. I see posts every day, so that's great. So for me personally, when I talked to a couple of friends, I would try to show them they liked it, but they were more into just doing web design, stuff like that, because that's, I guess, where the money is now. But a lot of stuff you could automate, like really dumb things that you do
Right.
every day that could save you, like it saves you maybe a second here, but if you add all those seconds here and there,
Yeah.
it can mount up to hours, and you can
Yeah.
do other things with that. So I don't know. I've tried, but I told myself, maybe I'll just focus on the users that we have now, and that's what I'm trying to do with the forum. So I'm trying to keep. It's impossible to keep everyone happy, of course. I'm trying to keep
Absolutely.
neutral grounds.
That's one of the
But I
best.
think,
I was going to say one
yeah,
of the most important things, advice I could ever say is you can never please everybody, right? Is just acknowledge that, like, no matter what you do, some people are
yeah,
going to love it and some people aren't. And it's just, you know what? The sooner you accept that, the less worrying and all this other crap you do, because no matter what you do, it's just, yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you do what you can, I guess.
Right. True. And that's the thing. It doesn't mean you don't care at all, but
No, of
just,
course, of
just
course.
acknowledge that, like, no matter what you do, it's not going to be perfect. And
Hmm.
someone's not going to like it. Yeah, actually, I'm not on there's the IRC and then there's the Discord. Is that what it is?
Yes,
Are you on either of those or?
I am on. Okay, so I used to be on RSC on and off. At one point, I was pretty much on it every day, but not responding all the time. But because so now what we have with Discord, so Rooney, I don't know how he likes to pronounce it, or RUN1E. So he started this Discord group and really did a great job. Now it's huge. There's so many users. I'm lost already. Every time I go on it, I don't even know what's happening. And then we have Tomo, that really old user before me, and that person brought in an IRC bot, so connected the IRC channel to the Discord channel. So essentially the whole thing is into one thing into Discord. And what's great with Discord is that it works on your phone, your computer, everything, and it's very lightweight. And the thing is, now it saves your messages. IRC pretty much once you
It's
leave,
gone.
it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's great. You can catch up on conversations that you missed, or somebody sent you a message. You don't have to use those weird commands on Freenode that I've been using sometimes. But so now on Discord, everything is just like, how the future of messaging should be.
Well,
So now it's great.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can do screen sharing as well, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, I think you can, but that's the thing. It's so more. It's evolved from IRC, like in the sense that you can share multimedia not just by links, but actually show it in the UI. So
yeah, and as much as I am so grateful for the work you do on the forum too, but everybody,
thank
right?
you.
Of like, to me, it's a beating, and like, God bless the people that actually deal with the day to day, like, some people that just don't do their homework to post questions. It just drives me batty of like,
Oh
oh my
yeah.
word. But
Well, that's I'm sorry, but yeah, it brings up the point of Stack Overflow. I see that all the time. I still help them because I think, if there's someone that I can help, I'll try to help them. But of course, I'll still tell them, if you can try something, at least try it yourself. And if you really can't do it, post your code. That's fine. But no, yeah. I get that it can get pretty annoying, and now it's evolved into something very strict, but whatever. So that's why I try to keep the forums open, because I don't want people to feel restricted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think there's a great easy way to do it, but to like kind of onboard people, of just having here's the process, right? Is first search on your own,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you finally want to ask a question, then you don't just ask yourself the question. If I ask this to, someone asked me this, could I understand what it is? It's so hard when it's in your head. You think you're being clear, and yet when other people see it, they have no context, they have no understanding, and that's the stuff I'm like,
yeah, that's always a challenge when you're explaining stuff, and I think also if you simplify things too much, people might take it as an insult also. but it's hard to get to that middle ground. But
It is.
it's for sure on computers. I guess it's a context where I find it funny. There's this website called "Let Me Google That For You."
Oh
And
yeah,
it's just an
absolutely.
animation
Yeah,
of a mouse clicking on Google
yeah,
search. And a number of times I found my solution just with Google. It's unbelievable. It
yeah,
takes a couple seconds.
yeah. No, I have one of my hotkeys I use a lot. It's caps lock S, but anyway, it'll search the forum, Stack Overflow, and then I used to do other stuff too, so it'd have like MSDN, but it uses Google to search with whatever I type in my input box. Each of those things pop up in my a different tab in Chrome, but because I'm like, oh, I'm trying to figure this out, and I could just hit a hotkey, type in something, and it runs the same query using Google on all those sites. And I can usually, depending if I'm doing AutoHotkey, I start on the forum and then I'll switch to Stack Overflow and then look elsewhere. But yeah, I'm like, it just spend 30 seconds, and looking now.
Yeah, for sure. I know, especially like since now the old forums that we have under archive forums, that was really important that we keep it online because there's so many solutions I still found on that old forum.
Absolutely.
Even if it's for 1.0, there's still a lot of good stuff on there. So
yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I think I was talking to Tank about it was when I first started getting into actually where I really started doing like object-oriented stuff and learning. I was doing web scraping was my first real thing. That was right when we were switching from the 1 to L.
Oh no!
In the forum, like it was so confusing, because I'd find these two different. I'd search.
Oh, that's unlucky.
And I'm like, what? Like, why is this like one way it's in English and the other way it's in Spanish, and yet they're both saying the same thing.
Yeah, that's the transition period.
Yeah.
It was a little rough.
It was.
Yeah. I guess you got really unlucky to come in there, but yeah.
That and also to me, like in hindsight, I started with COM and learning the DOM, and like if I had started automating Excel, right, or Outlook, those are so much easier to pick up. And then I could have switched to the web scraping, but I'm like, I didn't know any DOM. I didn't understand any of that stuff. And that was really, the DOM was what I would tell anybody. That's what I tell them now when I talk to web scraping. Study the DOM, although even though there's sites talk about it, there's like someone needs to put together a real good solid class of a DOM for web scraping class. Right? Because you pick up little stuff here and there, and of course the biggies, get elements by name and this and that. There's some core things, but holy cow, like I still learn more and more, right? Of like, oh, I didn't realize that was even a thing. Like Tank, actually, one of them, I asked a question. He's like, well, just do this. I'm like, I don't even, what do you mean I do this? Like, that's a thing? So yeah, it's a learning process.
Yeah, of course. For me, I've always done web scraping just by trying to do like very logic-based string searches. But once you can get into that object-oriented,
oh man, yeah, that it changed my. I would grab all the text and then write a regular expression to identify what I actually wanted, and it worked, but it was like they were some pretty it was ridiculous. It took a long time, and then I started learning how to grab this, and then one post actually, Jackie Black Holy Man had it was on a table, and he showed how to like basically parse the cells, the TD and TRs, right? And I'm like, what the hell are you referencing here? And he's like, oh, that's part of the DOM, it's part of this table. And I'm like, where's that noted? And he's like, it's just a thing, and I'm like, okay, like you just changed my life, like, because in research I would often be going and getting data from a website, right? And I'm like, often the second I saw tables, I'm like, oh my god, this is so much easier. Like I can just grab exactly what I want, and it's already stored, and that was
that's the thing. And also with that is it's not specific solutions to one problem. You can reuse that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Modify a little bit, with I believe to make it work to new problems. So yeah, it's a challenge to do it text based. Sometimes it's attractive because you're like, oh, I can just do a little bit, and then you keep adding and adding. And you're like, I could have just gone through DOM or object oriented method.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and it's kind of ironic because years ago I was decent at regular expressions because I used them so much, and now it's rare that I use them, and so now I like when I have to actually use a regular expression, it's me beating my head against the wall again because I haven't touched one in a while, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I know I can get back into it, but those are, to me, I like jigsaw puzzles, right? They're a challenge, so I like them, but yeah, they can be frustrating.
Yeah, but it's great because you know, you have all these regex testers that show you visually what you're selecting, and that helps a lot. And
absolutely,
instead of doing it your own, you know, for loops or whatever loop, if this, it's simpler in the sense that you're just writing a few characters to get what you want. So it's I guess it's more cryptid in the sense that you're writing some weird characters together, but it's doing what you want. But yeah.
No, but I totally agree. Having that visual thing to highlight what it is when you add it, literally looking at it and seeing it and going, oh, you know, I thought I was getting this, and it clearly isn't, right? Or it's going much further than I had thought.
I'm always using the visual tools to do
yeah. What do you recommend that, like, someone who just comes to, let's say they don't actually have a purpose, right? And they or let's start it this way. You have a new friend that you want to tell about AutoHotkey. How do you explain it to them? Like, what do you explain that like it is?
Oh boy. Okay, so as in just to get him into it and actually using it, or
well, just to explain, like someone says, I hear you use AutoHotkey. What is that?
Okay, so I usually just start off with, well, we used to call it a tool for this, that, but now it's a full-blown programming language. So I just say, well, AutoHotkey is this language that you can pretty much do any kind of automation on your computer. So if you wanted to click this and that and this really fast instead of doing it yourself all the time, you can do that really easily. So it's really a small tool that works pretty much on all major versions of Windows, except older that nobody uses anymore. But and you can just get it up and running and do whatever you want really quickly. So how I see it is that it's a tool that, in the sense that it's not that hard to learn compared to most languages, and it's the point of it is really to get anyone into it to start doing repetitive tasks that they don't need to do all the time. And so it's really a tool to help you every day and simplify things. It's kind of hard because it's AutoHotkey is pretty unique in some sense.
Yeah, and it's a Swiss Army knife, right? Like, what doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a Swiss Army knife for your everyday computer stuff and tasks. But I don't know how I see it is. It's a programming language to simplify everyday computer things. If I have to put in one sentence. If I want them to get more interested, I could say I would have to see how the computer, first of all, because if they just use it for, you know, really simple, I mean, even simple things you can automate. But there's probably, I'm almost certain that for anyone that uses a computer for whatever you're doing, like web browsing, writing your essay and stuff like that, there's always something you find annoying, and you could probably automate that to get around that instead of always clicking this and that. And so I would take that moment where maybe you have a little frustration, show them, like, I'll write the script and show you, bam, it's done. You don't even need to do all this. You just press your hotkey and it does that for you. So I think it's hard to introduce a tool that people don't even know that they would need. You would have to take a case where they do need it and then show them how useful it is. So it's hard to just explain it that way.
Sure.
But I think it's more of a thing that I would have to meet the person.
Yeah, but also, I mean, you said it there was like, which I have found is you find a use case for them, right? And the more relevant you make it to them of something they do, the more because often I would say, I would show them one thing and they're like, the what? I'm like, well, let's plan an hour where I can sit and just tell you like AutoHotkey. And I would go over, you know, start off with hot strings and hotkeys, but then I would show web scraping, I'd show regular expressions, I'd show parsing, moving files, all this stuff. And but it was just like, they would get overwhelmed basically. And now I'm more on the things of like, maybe I should just keep it like, just say, oh, AutoHotkey, it does hot strings, right? And not and then after they get using it, then come back and say, oh, did you know you could do this other thing with it, and you can do this with it, right? I think at the times when you first hear about it and you see too much, it becomes like, wow, this is, for a lot of people, it's amazing, but it's just so much, and I don't know where to start. And that's the other one is, even though I know there's a decent post in the forum of like, hey, and it's like a tutorial with like 10 or so, maybe 15 things, and it is a good overall thing for people to kind of learn AutoHotkey, right? Of like, now try this one, right? But I do kind of wish we had an onboarding flow of people of hey, you know what? If you're new to AutoHotkey, here is the way, right? This is like, here's every week you have a new thing to do. But it's so different on the need, right, for people. That's what's
that's why it's hard to try to accommodate new users when you don't really know what use cases for most, and I guess to spark that interest, because that's where they get going, and then they start seeing, oh, I can use it for this and that, but start when you tell them, oh, you could do this, or like, well, I can just do clicks and stuff like that. They don't really see the value until they actually start using it. So I think that to have a page like that would be great, but I'm actually not quite sure what to put on it. But it would be great to have maybe something, like you say, every week to change it, like, oh, this is a new, this week we have this as a featured whatever feature of the week, something like that. Something like that. But yeah, that's something we could probably do.
Yeah, I was talking to Jackie about, him and I we're gonna create an onboarding email drip campaign. And so when we find people, we'll say like, okay, here's your lesson for this week or this 3 days. We're not sure on the timing yet, but again, it almost, we almost could, when you were talking there, I was thinking about it, we almost could start off with a quiz about asking them what they like to do or need to do, right? And then that would change the order of how you'd present the stuff, right?
That actually sounds like a great idea. Actually, that's good. Yeah. But no, I have to say, you and Jackie I think you guys have been doing a great job for promoting AutoHotkey, because it's like, I see this stuff everywhere, and I'm like, wow, this is really pushing it out there, because it's hard to show something. I guess it's AutoHotkey has its obscure moments where, like, what is this tool that does this and that?
Right.
And you guys are really showing that it's not that scary in some sense. Sorry.
No, it doesn't have to be. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's where we've talked a lot about it, of like, when we make the webinars, what level do we, because the vast majority of people that show up aren't intro. And yet then we'll have a couple intro people, and in that, they get nothing, almost nothing. They can see that like things happen, but it's too steep for them.
Yeah.
But so we kind of balance, and sometimes we'll tackle harder ones and not. But we haven't had any real. We were actually planning to do a basic intro one that wasn't even during our normal time, and just say, hey, here's one for really noobs, right? Using hot keys and hot strings, and that's where I think on average is an easy starting place for a lot of people to see what simple things that can be done. But in no way is it limited to those things.
Sorry, I'm just plugging in power here because my phone's dying. Okay, that's good.
Can you talk to any like specific examples of how you use AutoHotkey?
Okay, so I even developed a little application at work, and sorry. Oh yeah. So it could be things like merging documents, finding files, sorting them, because that's the thing. The company I've been working for is already 21 years old, and we have probably, I don't even know how much data we have, like multiple servers at our office, and they have terabytes of data on each of them, and it's been like over 20 years of collecting data, and it's not sorted because we just throw stuff in there and it builds up.
Oh yeah.
So I have someone that's actually trying to learn Python to sort through that, and he's saying because he's got to use Python for something else anyway. So I'm like, oh, that's great. For me, because I thought of AutoHotkey early because I use AutoHotkey for everything. Um,
Yep.
so uh, I don't know. For me, on my computer, I have my usual script that I have. I call it joedf tools. It's a long time ago, but I call it that. I don't know why, but so in there, I just have a couple scripts that I like I forgot the name of it, but the Linux type of window managing, where you can hold Alt, move it around, and then size it, is so much easier for me because sometimes when you're trying to put the cursor on the edge of the window to size it, you're always missing it by a pixel, and then click the
Yeah.
window, and you're like, no.
Yeah.
But this with Alt, you can just go near the corner and then just move it around. It's so much easier. I have another script for the opacity. So sometimes I want to do some type of graphics or I don't know, using Photoshop or Inkscape or Paint.net. And I'm trying to align some images or vectorize something. Could be anything like that. You can import an image into Inkscape and try to trace it that too. But sometimes when you have something else that you can import into Inkscape, for example, you could take a screenshot of it, but then you're getting a reduced format.
Yeah.
So what I would do is that I would enlarge both of them, overlay the windows, make both of them transparent so I can see it, and then I can just do stuff on there directly. So just something as simple as changing the transparency helps me a lot. I have other scripts as I don't know, changing the volume when you're scrolling on the
Yeah, I got
taskbar
that.
on the bottom is so much easier for me because you're looking for the button here and that. Some
Oh yeah.
keyboards don't even have a control for that, so then you got to look for the little icon and then click it.
Yeah, if it's
It's so
visible.
much faster, right? You have the whole
Absolutely.
bar to just scroll and then
I know.
it's done. So I have multiple times. It's like I was watching a movie the other day and the volume was high, and then I come on to the computer next day and I'm like, okay, it's a quiet morning, and then boom, I'm like, whoa,
Right.
So, but with the scroll, I can scroll it down right away and I'm
Yeah.
fine, right?
Yeah.
So that's another tool I have. I don't know. There's a bunch of other things. I can't. There's not any one that comes to mind right now, but there's it's a lot of little things here and there that all these little like nuances or even make things even more practical. I usually turn to AutoHotkey because it's something I can just script right away. I don't have to use compile whatever programming language I'm using. And what I like with AutoHotkey is that the debugger, everything like your key log, your variables, they're all in the application right away. So it's ready to go to test while it's running. So that's something that's really it's so valuable to me because if you're writing something with something else, you have to run debugger. If you didn't run it, you forgot it, then you have to go back, change it. But this, you can right away right click on the little H icon and you see all the things that you need. It's so much more helpful. And sometimes, you have the hotkeys on your script and it's interfering with something else. You can just suspend the hotkeys or, pause the script, no issue, but with something else, you have to, like, say your program goes wild and you have to kill it. You have to open Task Manager and try to kill it. With AutoKey, you can just right click and exit. It's there. So I think the tray icon is so useful sometimes. And then the fact that the debugging tools are in there, that really helps too.
No, I agree.
But so that's why I usually turn to AutoHotkey because it's simple, it's fast, and it runs on any system I use every day. So that's my go-to tool. Yeah.
I remember there was a time where I was learning Python, and when I first launched it, I actually I think I know this, but what editor do you use for AutoHotkey?
Oh, so I usually use the Cypher HK by Finks. Because that's where I started with. Well, I used to just use Notepad, of course, but I started using that, and that's the one I've stuck with. But of course, he stopped updating it. It works fine, it's stable. I've tried to get into HK Studio, but at one point it got rewritten, I guess. So I got used to it, but then I have to get reused to it, and then I don't know. I'm guessing I haven't really used the new one. I remember I made a theme for it, which was plastic code wrap, and I think it's being maintained now on the new HK Studio. I haven't moved to it yet because my setup it's already set up with Cypher HK. but I've been debating if I should change to that. Otherwise, I could be using Atom or Sublime Text. So, but my go-to AutoHotkey is using Site for HK now, but I'm thinking about moving. I'm not sure yet because everything is already integrated. I even have my own plugins in that, so I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, that's right. And I think actually is several years ago now, but you helped me on one. I was in Site. I forget what it was. I think it was the running. Oh, I think it was the running where you could highlight the actual text inside your thing and run just that.
Run selected. Yeah.
And I'm like, because that was awesome. But yeah, I was a big Site user for years. I still am. Right? I still use it a lot. But for coding of AutoHotkey stuff, I've switched over to Studio.
Well, can you write you can write plugins for those or?
Yes.
I don't know the plugin system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because then I might just rewrite my plugins for HK Studio and move on to that.
Yeah.
So
well, the other thing you could do too is, depending on what your plugins do, is tell Maestri that this is what I want, and he might just incorporate it entirely, right? I mean, he's
very fast moving. He's always updating. It's incredible.
When he was demonstrating it to me, and I think I made the video available. It was like 2.5 hours, right? Where I'm like, all right, show me Studio, and everything in Site that I said, well, what about this? How do you do this? And like, 90% of it was already built in, but the 10% that wasn't, he added it like within a day. I mean, it was just like, oh, okay, so I guess I'm gonna, I'll switch. I was happy to it, but anyway, so. Where I was going with that was when I first started learning Python, I was using Site, and that's the thing I do still like about Site is like I can handle almost any language, and so I launched the thing, and I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, how do I stop it, right, in Python, right? I'm like, there's no icon. I'm like, so I had to build. I built like a right click to context menu to stop running program, but that was one of those things of like, well, wait a minute, and then I also realized. With AutoHotkey, like I'll be doing web scrape, I'll be using a browser and then say like, okay, I want to go grab this page. Let me do it in Python. Like, well, I can't get the page I'm on, in my browser. Like it wasn't super easy, and so there was a lot of stuff. I finally gave up learning Python just because I'm like everything I want to do I can do in AutoHotkey. So other than the slicing, I love that with Python.
The slicing, that's one thing.
It was so easy to do so many things. I'm like, oh my god, and it was intuitive too, right? You're like, but that was for me. With Site was awesome in a lot of ways, but it just took some practice to get the API part of it to launch Python.
It can be a little not the most friendly in some sense because I find that with Sublime there's so many plugins written for it. It's just easy to just install it. It does it for you. For Site you kind of have to tinker a little bit. But the power of it is it just handles everything. It's lightweight
and you can open massive files. I mean, I've had really good luck with really big files, and almost everything else dies. And they're like
That's the thing about it. So that's why I can't complain about it. It works.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say that there's a lot of things with the AutoHotkey Studio with just the functions alone. Like when you're in a function and you can move over and you can see where you are, what parameter you're on, and it highlights the color. Whereas in Site,
I've seen that.
And I think it was Finks was the guy for Site, right? And I was trying to take what Maestri had done and bring that into Site. And I was playing with it, and I finally put my finger on it, and I wrote things, and he's like, yeah, Site can't handle it because I think it was because the commands use commas as delimiters, and the functions do, and like you can't have it with both, right? Like it doesn't know which one's which, something along the lines of that. You can switch between it, and you could turn it off of the commands, and then inside your functions, you'd be highlighted, but you can't have it both ways. I forget exactly. There was somewhere in there. But
I see.
But I'm like, that is, it's a nice on some functions that have a lot of parameters. I'm like that alone is like really nice. But awesome. Is there anything else you want to add? Is there any other use cases you can think of? What are you on I gotta guess you're on the forum almost every day, most days when you don't have.
Actually, quite a bit. I usually try to skim it every day. most of the time I'm on my phone to check it because it's a lot faster. But when I have, like, for example, I'm on vacation or whatnot, I come back and I have a million notifications.
Sure.
I wait till like a Sunday morning, stuff like that, and then I'll go through all of them. But usually, I'm pretty much on it every day. So if there's something urgent, I'll reply right away. If it's little things, I'll reply too. But when there's bigger posts and I have to take time to think about it, I usually email it to myself so that I go back and check and actually take the time to answer. I don't want to just, give a very loose answer and then, oh, I don't know what I'm saying.
Right.
So, I'm pretty much on it every day just to check if things are running fine. Because you never know. There's a bunch of times where, the web page just went white and then there's no page and I'm like, oh no, I'm freaking out. And then I contact Tank and then we try to get it working and all that. Sometimes I just do routine checks to see if it's working fine, see if any users have any problems, and I get private messages that I handle. But I'm pretty much on it every day. This last week I wasn't too active because I've been away visiting family. I'm actually about to do that and check all my messages I have now. Usually I try to be on it the most as I can.
I'd say also over the years, like if for a free forum, right? I mean, like it has an amazing amount of uptime, and there's rarely, is there an issue. I know maybe it was like 4 years ago, there were more like little blips here and there for a bit, but it's been a long time since I've had issues with the forum being down when I was trying to search it or anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. The Tank has done a lot of security upgrades. So sometimes it's even hard for me to get in. But so I have to pretty much get in from my home computer, or I have to get in through a web interface, and it's clunky, but it's a lot more secure. I have to say that, but of course, we get hacks all the time. And stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of the nature of actually. I think actually we chatted maybe some point about it, but I did that. Jackie and I did that AutoHotkey user survey. This is probably like 3.5.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
great.
And of course, we were just tempting, fate, but someone automated taking the survey, right? And it was just like, really, like, now I got to go through, and then we added the CAPTCHA at the beginning of it, but it just made me laugh. Of like, I knew someone had, it was just bound to happen, right? Someone, given the nature of who we're talking to, they had to do it. Actually, another interesting enough, it's not that, but so my background's in survey research, and I try not to actually work in it because I just don't, I've lost interest, but I did it for like 20 years. And so I still do projects for a friend, and he was doing this study on wheelchairs. There was a big incentive, and the amount of people that had hacked the survey and kept trying to retake it, it made it, they were really good and made it hard to spot that they were repetitive. But man, I don't know how they were automating, especially, I don't know if they still had someone manually getting past the CAPTCHA, because the CAPTCHA was pretty good, and but I'm sure it still could be automated, or they'll just, like an AutoHotkey, of course, it's the strength, right? It's like I could build something to go to the page, and I could just look at it for a second, and then hit a button to go on, and then have the computer do the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
But that was not a fun experience to.
No, so I don't know what the point would be to do that, because I know it's being done. That's the thing with the forums. Sometimes they try to hack it, but I don't. Sometimes they're hacking things that I'm thinking, I don't even see the point in that.
I know. Yeah.
Sometimes they'll try to put advertisement. I get that maybe, but there's other things that I actually don't see the point of doing.
Oh yeah, people got way too much time on their hands. Yeah. But I mean, part of it, my guess sometimes is they were trying to learn how to web scrape, right? And automate. It isn't that they actually, the goal wasn't to do the post in that sense. The goal was to learn how to automate it, right? And they just picked the forum.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Sometimes you're like, what? Why? Where was the gain? Like, why do they spend this time? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on this. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you a lot for all your work on the forum. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Yeah, I am, it's, if there's ever a time when we need money and stuff, I'm like, I'll be the first to pitch in if there's a big thing. Cause I said it the other day, I'm like, auto hockey literally changed my life. Right. I mean, like so much for the better, so many things. Like I don't think I would have survived doing the jobs I had if I had to manually do them. And so, yeah, so it's, I think we're all indebted to Chris initially, and then everybody who contributes. Besides I see people all the time, it just taking their time to answer questions and help people with stuff. And it's and you mentioned it in the very beginning of this, but the forum alone is one of the biggest, even though auto hockey is amazing, but the fact that there's this forum and people are really willing to help walk you through and teach you and stuff, it's amazing, right? It's awesome.
Exactly. The forum right now, the forum is pretty much the drive for me in auto hockey, because I go on other forums, it's not very helpful.
Oh, mercy. And they're mean, right? Yeah. I mean, they're rude and
yeah, they are. So this is why this is a community that I want to keep up and running, and I've pitched in multiple times too. So it's something I want to keep up. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And actually, I don't know if you're ever interested. We'll put you on the spot here, but we love having guest lecturers on the webinars. If you ever have a topic that you think you mind, talking about, or which we also love, we try to do at the end of it is like, does anyone have any examples they want to share, like stuff they've done? Because actually, I had talked to, I think it was Ryan. We were talking about it. I was after the interview, but I'm going to try to put together, I think probably at the same time frame, because globally it seems to be around the best where the most people can attend. But having almost like a webinar, but it'll be a time where we can like use our Zoom meeting to come in and just have people talk about what they automated this month, right? Like, hey, what'd you work on this month, right? And the more, I think that's one of the best ways that people can start realizing auto hockey can do so much more, is by seeing other people of like, well, crap, I don't use that, but I use something similar to that, right? And I didn't realize I could do this. So I'll put it on the third, no, it is the third Tuesday. So the second Tuesday or something of the month, and just whoever shows up, and then they're recorded and people can watch them. But it's that interactive where people see how other people use it. That's just, it's so amazing. It's just an amazing tool. And I get ideas. Actually, I don't know how many the webinars you've seen. In the webinars, I will get ideas from, I'll watch, someone, and I'm like, oh man, like the that one, Jackie did one on OCR and grabbing stuff, and I have a screen clipping tool.
I think I saw a skim of that. Yeah,
I have a screen clipping tool that I use. That I'm not going to say written, because I Frankenstein together, right? Because I don't, the GDIP image stuff, I know nothing about. But I'm like, dude, and so I took his OCR, and now I do screen clipping, but then I can hit another hotkey and it will OCR my screen clip. And I'm like, this is awesome, right? Just leveled it up. One more little thing. Like now, I actually go to like Google Books. Like if I'm trying to show someone like a passage, I'm like, I can screen clip the text, but now I can actually get the text, right? And
anyway, for sure. It's awesome.
All right. Well, thanks, man. Have an awesome day. And again, thank you so much for your time on the forums. I mean, it's everyone is very both helpful and grateful.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.